right, I think we should go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and hello, just a sample of some of my favorite humans in the entire world. It's so good to see you all here for Twin Cities Startup Week. My name is Danielle Steer, and I'm the Managing Director of Lunar Startups. Lunar Startups is a proven accelerator for high-growth startups led by CEOs who identify as Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, LGBTQ, and non-binary. And you are joining us for a very special edition of Fix It Friday, hosted on a Tuesday for our Fix It Fireside. This event series was launched in partnership with the Coven to bring together experts, resources, and inspiration to help entrepreneurs fix it in the wake of COVID-19. Bi-weekly, we host founders, entrepreneurs together for an interesting conversation with relevant experts on different topics. And so this is a super special edition of that for Twin Cities Startup Week. And you'll notice that I don't have my counterpart, Alex Steinman from the Coven, here with me today because 2020. She's very sorry she couldn't join us, but had 2020 come rearing its head again. So join me in wishing Alex well today. She sends her love to everyone who's watching and to all of you for participating. If you're not already familiar with the Coven, highly recommend checking it out. I'm going to put a link in here for you. The Coven is a group of amazing professionals that design spaces for women, non-binary, and trans folks. They have not only a digital community, they also have a physical community, a couple of different locations, and more to come in the future, assuming we're all going to be allowed to get together again. So if you haven't already, please make sure to check out the Coven and what they've got going on. So without further ado, I want to jump into a very important conversation about scale and dreaming big. And the reason that we're having this right now during Twin Cities Startup Week and at large is that we are in a really important time for entrepreneurs like those that are joining us and for many of you that are watching to be thinking about what is the ambition of the future? What does the new economy look like? How do you take a problem that maybe previously existed prior to March 15th in one way and now looks totally different? Or for some of you, maybe there's different opportunities that are coming forward. Lunar Startups, we very much value the opportunity to support entrepreneurs who have big ambition and big dreams, or to help them find that big ambition and big dream when they have big potential. So today I am joined by 3 of the Lunar Startups community of founders. We've got representatives from cohort 2 and cohort 3 part of this program. And so what I'm gonna do is have you all kick it off by introducing yourself, your company, and what your ambition is going through the rest of this year. So it's like, we don't want to peep too much and give away all of the secret sauce, but tell us a little bit about how you're looking at the work that you're doing right now and what you want to achieve in the next 3, 6, 9 months. Let's start with Elizabeth, then Mondo, then Bella. That works.
All right. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Orme. I am the founder and CEO of Creatively Focused. I was in Lunar Startups cohort 2, and I just dream of being back there just about every day. Totally missing being around all of just the incredible people and just the energy and vibe you get from being around other founders. So beyond just being in my own little bubble, it feels like right now, I'm just really missing that vibe of Lunar. So so thankful to Lunar and the Coven as well. I'm also a Coven member, and just having the support of those 2 communities. Creatively Focused is an educational services and technology company that works to support increasing retention rates of special educators. We do that by really addressing the top 3 reasons educators leave the field. So we make sure that they feel valued, make sure they feel like experts, and make sure that they're connected with other people whose days look like theirs. My background was in research and then working to become a teacher myself. So quite literally the work that we do, I lived through. I felt the burnout. I saw the burnout then when I was a building administrator and wanted to come up with something that could really address the true problem, right? And so I was able to significantly scale that through working with Lunar, and being able to see myself as a CEO, not just a certain type of business owner, but truly a CEO. And that's really where our services started looking into augmenting through technology. And our big piece in these next 3, 6, 9 months is taking the technology that we thought was much further out that we've started to develop, and expanding our content and our technology services. So really becoming the true ed tech that we are, and releasing our first products.
Awesome, awesome. We miss you here, as I still am at Lunar. I am here right now, and if I peek around the corner, I can see your desk. My name is Mondo Davison. I also go by the Black Tech Guy. I'm the co-founder of Schools, and in this ever-changing 2020, elevator pitches, I guess, change as well. And so initially we were building culturally relevant content that tied directly to Google Classroom. However, parents are struggling in the household right now, trying to juggle educating their kids and work and all other responsibilities. And so we're spinning up a immediate solution to make sure we can deliver free content to families that's actually going to engage their kids. And so we are hyper focused on that third through fifth grade age. But I feel like we are developing cool things. I feel like our big vision is like, how do we tie community creatives to the classroom, or community creatives now to the distance learning environment, and take some of the onus and the responsibility off of teachers to have to create so much stuff. It's not their responsibility to do everything. And so we're hoping that using our platform and the creative economy, we can be an amazing support to engage students at home.
I hear you, Bella. Are you muted? Oh no. Okay, try again. Can anyone else hear her? Is it just me? Bella, if you want to maybe pop out and then pop back on, we'll kick off with some of the other questions. Perfect. Okay, we'll look forward to welcoming Bella back to the conversation in just a second. So why don't we kick it off with a little bit more information from each of you? I'd love to get your take on, before you started at Lunar once upon a time, and obviously different time frames for both of you, you might have had a very specific vision for where you wanted to take the company. Now, a couple years later, a couple months later, a COVID later, those things I'm sure have changed, right? So tell us a little bit about what some of the experiences that you've had how they have shifted your vision for where you are and where you're going, and like what were some of those interesting components. So whether it was an aha moment or a customer audience engagement type of thing, like tell us a little bit more. Elizabeth, why don't we start with you and key us up on what are some of the things that have informed your vision and how it's changed and hopefully grown?
Yeah, so I always laugh because when I applied to Lunar, it was like my first introduction to the whole startup world. Like I had no clue. I had no clue that what I was doing was considered like a startup, really. And had no idea that this community even existed, right? So I applied to Lunar and then like kind of found myself in there. And I just remember being bombarded with the question of like, what's your exit strategy? And I was like, I didn't have an entrance strategy. I have no idea what my exit strategy is. So well, yes, my vision has dramatically changed, and it's dramatically changed because I actually have a vision now. I think like, I of course I had a very limited version of my vision before coming into Lunar. I knew that it could work, and I like had pieces that I was like, this could be successful here, and this could be like a nice company, right? But in terms of thinking about like next step scaling and really having the belief in the fact that I could run a company that could do that, I think that was the biggest game changer for me. And it all started literally because I got asked probably 5 times in the first like 2 weeks, like, so what's your exit strategy? And I was like, I have absolutely no clue, like no idea. Now out of it, so gosh, like 6 months out, right? No, more than that. I don't even remember now. However far out of it I am, I have like a very clear understanding of what my exit strategy is and what I'm truly building at this point. And also like the confidence that I can do it, right? So I think that was a huge piece. And when I think about that confidence piece for me, it's like my two biggest examples are, what is your exit strategy? And then I'll never forget a presentation that I had. And it was in a room full of older white men. I felt extremely intimidated. I felt like I was totally alone in it. For the first time, my confidence was like really probably the lowest it had been. And this was months into the Lunar program. But I remember coming into Lunar and prepping for it and people just being like, you've got this, you know this better than anybody else. And when I went into that situation, the presentation I did there was beyond any presentation I've ever done in my life. Like it completely brought me to that next level to be like, there's nothing stopping us here. Like I can do any of these things, throw anything at me, like I've got it. But the support that I received in being able to do that and just that whole, like, again, the vibe of the Lunar community, I think those were kind of the two biggest game-changing moments for me to like say out loud what it was that I was going to do. And it was the biggest vision that I had, not this little condensed version of it.
That, and I remember when you went and did that. That's so fun. Bella, we're going to come back to you before we hop over to Mondo for my question. How can we do a little mic check for you? How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yay!
Yay! Okay, good. Yay! Gosh, that was terrifying.
You know what? Like this technology, you'd think 8 months in it would all work a lot better together, but I don't have a week that goes by that something is not messed up.
Right,
So,
of course.
So Bella, tell us a little bit about Coconut Whisk, how you came to the Lunar community, and how you've been thinking about your big vision for the next 3, 6, and 9 months.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Bella, founder and CEO of Coconut Whisk. I got introduced to Lunar, I think through a friend. She just sent me the application and I was like, this seems great, because at the time, I think I was a year into business and, you know, I didn't go to school for entrepreneurship or anything. I studied public health. And so I was like, this might be the thing I need to really get my foundation right for our business. So I'm really glad that we're a part of Lunar, and you know, it really gave me, I think, the network and the confidence to dream bigger and to think like a real, you know, an actual founder. You know, when I started, I didn't have a vision of like an exit or anything, or I didn't even know what like a pitch deck was or like a cap table. And so I'm really glad that we got that figured out through the program. And so the next few months, we're working on just figuring out ways we can serve our customers. And that looks like new products. That looks like, you know, more content-driven, value-driven content. And through the help of Danielle, we're actually opening a brick and mortar in 2021 in downtown Minneapolis. So that's the next exciting thing for us. So.
And I got you too excited about Lunar. Bella, what does Coconut Whisk?
Oh yes, that's right. We offer plant-based and gluten-free baking mixes, so pancakes, muffins, cookies, things like that.
10 out of 10 recommend mug cake. So good. All right, Mondo, why don't we jump over to you? What have been some of the key variables or impact areas that have really changed and shifted how you're thinking about scale and the ambition of schools overall for where you want to go?
Yeah, I was, listening to Elizabeth and Bella. I'm hearing a lot about like crystallizing like what that big vision is. I feel like I was on the other end of the spectrum where every meeting I would go into with Amanda, she would say, okay, are you guys doing 17 things now or what? And so it's consolidating the big vision to actually like be able to focus on what's been important. And so that's definitely been, I think, the biggest, most important value prop that we've gained being part of Lunar. And it's a lot of it has to do with like 2020, right? 2020 is hitting everybody. It's forcing everybody to shift and change and grow or do something. And so education has been completely disrupted due to COVID. And so being an education company, it's like, okay, well, we can do a lot, But you're going to need to pick one. And so it took a while for us to actually pick something and then go after it. And so I guess to answer that question is just it's focus. It's being able to do one thing great, or figuring out who I am as an independent leader on this team and what I can do great, and then like lean into my other partners in a way that they're able to maximize their strength. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Huge opportunity, and it's just about executing at this point.
I hear you on that. I think that's everyone's feeling that in a different way. Bella, what about you? Your vision for scale has kind of changed. What have been some of those big key components? I don't think you were thinking about brick and mortar 6 months ago. I could be wrong though. Tell us more about kind of, what your initial vision was and what have been some of those key components going forward.
Honestly, when I started Coconut Whisk, it was just, okay, how do I build a company that gives back, and how can we make it to the next month, right? And like, how can we continue to just make our products better? And so I never thought that we could be a company that could, sell or exit in a big way until I started having these conversations, until I started taking these workshops. So, I think it just really helped me crystallize, like what Mondo said, like what I should be doing. And then now it's all about the execution and doing the work. So.
Absolutely. I think something that Elizabeth talked about earlier is around confidence, and this idea of, building your own confidence in yourself as a leader, in your company, in the solution that you're bringing forward. I think there's this fallacy in entrepreneurship that we put on the pedestal these like overly confident, outspoken leaders who are like, I know all the things, right? And 7 out of 10 of them are totally just like blowing smoke, right? So how do you think about your own confidence, a leader? Where does it manifest, and where maybe you working on some of those pieces to either build your own confidence in yourself or fake it? I'm a big fan of faking it till you become it. Elizabeth, why don't we come back to you on that?
Yeah, so this is like so timely with things, but the whole faking it part, what I've learned about it is like, I keep getting asked the question of like, how did you end up doing this based on like your experience before? And like, did that give you anything to be able to do what you're doing now? And I keep being like, working in a building as a building administrator, being a special education teacher, being a researcher, like those things all led up to me being able to be the CEO that I am now. But if I forget what I learned in those pockets, I start having to fake it way more, right? So I've just kind of started to recognize this whole like, it's the authenticity piece, right? Like what comes supernatural to me in terms of that leadership. And if it's stressing me out, if actual leadership like of our team is stressing me out, it's because it's not being done in a way that I've learned and that I've grown in. It's because I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And so what I think this whole like entrepreneurial thing and being a founder and then building a team, you're just like tasked with being a leader, but it really comes down to like, you either are or you aren't, right? Meant to be in a leadership type of role. And I think some founders figure out like, no, being a CEO is not the position that I want, right? Or I'm not that leader that the team needs me at. My skill set is more right here. And it's not to say that one's worse or better than the other, but figuring out like as the founder and as the entrepreneur, what feels right and what are you truly meant to do? Like, where's your passion work? And for me, it's that I continuously come back to, like I heard both between Mondo and Bella, like the execution piece. And I laugh at that part only because like, if I find myself in a position where I have to execute every day, I will not be the leader that our team needs at all, right? And so I've found myself to be like, sure, I can think about like the execution getting done, but now my execution has to live in like the growth of the company and building the team and building the people, because my sweet spot is building that team. And so like, when I just think about those different, like, what is your version of CEO? And like, I remember somebody during Lunar telling me like, okay, what are you really good at? And what do you really love to do? You don't have to give that part up because you're a CEO. But you do have to give some of these other pieces up. And so figuring out like, where is my own sweet spot has has been really critical. And I feel myself like, it's like once a month where I'm like, oh, I'm out of my sweet spot. And then I'm faking it all day. And that's exhausting. Like, it's so exhausting to come into something and be like, I'm leading this team and this is how I'm doing it. And then you're like, you just don't have like the adrenaline behind it really. So I think just like learning, especially during COVID, I mean, when COVID hit, you had to be one type of leader for running a business. You had to be able to execute. You had to be able to plan. You still have to do those things, but that leader was like the one that didn't sleep very much for 3 weeks straight, that made sure that we were going to be able to pay our employees, that made sure we had all the right protocols in place, right? And went. But I knew that that was not sustainable for me. Like, I had to figure out how to help our team get to a place where that wasn't all on me, because I show up for my people the way that they need me to and that I need me to. So I think just like navigating that, to me, it's like an every once a month or like 3 month cycle of like, am I still in my sweet spot?
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting kind of like shift on it that I wasn't anticipating. Thank you. I'm going to come to you in a second, Mondo, about this at the intersection of like confidence. I want to come to you next. I can't say, you have an amazing social media presence, and like the visibility that you have as a founder and as a CEO and a professional, you set a very specific image for yourself. How often do you feel like you have to kind of lean into that confidence piece, and where do you see that playing into the work that you do and how you're thinking about scale?
Yeah. So the question is like, how do I use like the social media, the platform, to kind of show up as a leader? Is that the question?
Sure. That's a great derivation of that question. I love that.
Yeah. I think honestly, when I launched Coconut Whisk, like I didn't have a big marketing budget, and all I knew was social media and how to use this community by just showing up and being like, hey, this is kind of my journey. Like, I'm just documenting what I'm doing. And that really helped me like foster this really authentic and just like real relationship with people that really just grew organically. And so I think it really helped me build my confidence, because just showing up and just like being a leader, and even if you don't feel like one, and just showing up and being like, hey, this is a little messy, this is a little awkward, but I'm just gonna like speak, I'm just gonna talk, I'm just gonna show up and be myself. And like that gave me confidence, because it showed other people that they can do it too, and that they can just they kind of see themselves in me, and that was just like the snowball effect. And so that's kind of how I used it to continue to build Coconut Whisk.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you're not already following, it's a good follow. So Mondo, I want to come to you. So you, similar to Elizabeth, and I think Bella, in regards to how she built her business, you have deep knowledge of the challenges that you're trying to face. You were a teacher in the classroom. You saw your students really struggling to connect with content. You have a wonderful story about how you, as a student yourself, at one point struggled to connect with content. You also come across as a very confident leader. You are the Black tech guy in our community. Like, we all know you as that. So like, where do you find, your confidence and leadership coming through, as it relates to getting more people on board, to connecting with the content that you're creating, to buying into the vision? Like, where do you see the intersection of those pieces?
Oh man, so that I'm trying to think of where to lean into. So foundational story, right? So like I got into tech in 2010. This was way before I was into ed tech, but I was just trying to figure out like, how do I play this game? And so I used to go to a lot of meetups. And at the time, meetups was just full of white dudes. And so walking into this tech space, not as a developer, coder, whatever, and like feeling like I was not, there's an insecurity there, right? Like I wasn't supposed to be there. And so somebody was just like, man, you're just a Black tech guy in the room. I was like, yeah, that's cool. And somebody was like, well, I'll make you a shirt that says the Black tech guy. I'm like, all right, that's cool too. And so literally it was me having to put a shirt on and convince myself that I was going to just own that. Right. And so to start, it was really just me amping myself up, like, fam, you're either in or you're not. And so from there, I had a mentor. His name was Mark Cohen. He essentially said, you know, are you a leader or are you an operator? Both are necessary. Leaders produce meaningful change, and operators manage the complexity of those changes. And so he's like, if you're going to be a leader, you have to learn how to tell a compelling story. And so I think over the years, I became a very good storyteller to try to express what my vision is. Because if I can do that at a high level, then I can find amazing people to work with me and then lean on their strengths as leaders in different industries or operators. And so I say all that to say, I'm just trying to sit in my pocket and just be the best me that I can be. And then hopefully we'll all win together.
Mondo, I love the t-shirt thing because I always go to like, I wear earrings when I have to develop the confidence. It's like, and it developed while I was at Lunar, but I found myself in like every scenario where I had to like show up and be the storyteller or the vision person or whatever it might be. I was like gold hoop earrings. So, and now it's like, I better not lose them. I mean, I don't know what's
I love that.
my gold stuff.
I love it. And it looks like there's in the audience, hats is another one. Bella, do you have something that like you put on to kind of embody the concept?
I put on some red lipstick, or, you know, it's just some like some lipstick, just something, right? Because every day I'm wearing sweats and like my hair is up. And so when I put on lipstick, it's like a whole nother version of myself.
I love that. Well, in the audience, feel free to put into the chat if you have other recommendations for how to kind of embody the confidence that you want to lean into. I think that's an awesome place to start. I think a couple of other things that you all talked about was like the ability to stay connected and with peers who can help boost you in that process, who can be that mirror and remind you that you are a great leader and a great CEO and help you work through some of those things. So I'm curious, you know, how, whether it was inside of Lunar or outside of Lunar, how have you been building community for yourself with other founders, and how has that informed your vision for where you're wanting to go and take your companies? And I'll just open that up to whoever might want to start.
I feel like there's probably a big difference between being in Lunar and out of Lunar. So I'm happy, like Mondo and Bella, if you guys want to go ahead on that end, and then I can kind of talk about the after Lunar effects.
Yeah, I think so. I was. Oh, go ahead.
Sure. I was just gonna share how, for me, honestly, like having peers that are in the same like entrepreneurial space has been like game changing. Like I'm a big component of like community over competition. So we do like just like getting food companies together that are in the Twin Cities and having like a group chat on Instagram. For me, I also do like a monthly investor or stakeholder email, and that really keeps, you know, everyone in the loop. And then just the recommendations and the referrals, like they change the game. They really change the game for us. So yeah, just staying connected that way and just like getting phone numbers and like becoming like friends, you know, so that's really it.
Mondo?
I mean, I was just going to piggyback on just how important the human factor is of the community that we surround ourselves with. And so one of the most important just drivers for me, or something that always keeps me motivated, is this group chat that I have with 4 other brothers, entrepreneurs, businessmen. 4 of us are all have either been through Lunar or, you know, part of Lunar, which is great. But I'm saying all that to say, like, the type of things we talk about, whether it's just business or life or kids or like struggles, and we just lift each other up all the time, the constant memes of positivity. And even just like, yo, are we going to take over the world or what? Like, this is, you know, we're talking about big vision, big dream. And so just being able to wake up every morning and to see this high positive energy, like I can't slack today because Dario, D'Angelo's, Mike, they're all talking about, all right, what are we doing today? And so it's super dope.
I like that. It sounds like a really good group thread, Elizabeth.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I think a little bit about that, like who do you show up as a leader? And Bella, you talked a little bit about that piece of just like showing up as you, and like, you know, like some of it is messy and some of it isn't. And I think if I wouldn't have done that from the start with the team that I started building, I would be really lonely right now, right? Like there's that saying of like, it's lonely at the top, and I hate that saying I get it. Like, it makes sense to me why it can feel that way. But I think we also underestimate our ability to connect with the team that we're building, no matter what your position is, right? I might be somebody's supervisor, but that doesn't mean that I can't have that human to human connection with them. It doesn't mean that I can't lean on them if I'm in need of something, right? In terms of our work side, there's of course the professional layer. But I think I laughed because like a year ago when I first said out loud at Lunar, like, I'm going to be a tech company. And I identified those 3 reasons of why educators leave the field. I started looking and I was like, oh, nope, it's nurses too. It's physicians. It's all these human to human related things. And then like a few months in, my husband said to me, he was like, don't you need the same things? And I was like, huh, yeah, entrepreneurs. Like, it's the same, founders need the same thing. And of course, people leaving being an entrepreneur or a founder are because like maybe you don't have any money left, right? I'm sure that's a big factor. But people who burn out from it, I'm sure are hitting that piece of they need somebody to tell them that they're valued. They need somebody to say like, yeah, you can do this. You're the expert, right? And they also need to have the connection with other people who have a day that's like theirs. And so I found myself in a pocket for a while where even like someone on the outside, my husband could be like, hold on a second, like you don't have those 3 things right now. And like, I can see you going like this. And I think I had a lot of that through Lunar. And then when you leave Lunar, you try to do it. But of course, like anything, it's like very easy to push to the side when all the other stuff gets so crazy and busy. And so I think it's just that like you need that like that accountability partner, right? That can be like, no, those things are just as important and that's what's going to keep you going. But then you also need to know that your team can be those people too. Like I have had an extraordinary team that out of the blue, somebody who I'm like pretty far away from on a day-to-day basis will write me an email saying what they appreciate about the team that's been built or the company that's been made or the job they have. And like that goes in my little, I always call it like my warm and fuzzy box. And like I print it out or I have a Post-it and I put it in there. And I'm like, those are the things that keep me going. And those are the things that show me like, yep, the work I've done is valued. I do know what I'm doing. And I have this incredible team of people that I'm connected to. So I think just being able to pause in the moment and say like, do I have the support I need to actually keep it a priority is really, really big. And I say this now, like, in probably the toughest moment of this. So I am more so talking to myself out loud than even like trying to tell everybody else. But I think just knowing like, we all like really hustled for like 5 months here. And I think we're hitting a little bit of this like, holy crap, I'm tired. And so it's falling back then to say like, do I have my people or not? And just being like, got to do something about it if you don't.
Totally. So. Well, and I think that, when you were at Lunar, Elizabeth, we were in person, everyone was in the office. We were doing lunch together. We were like breaking bread together. There was like very much a different vibe, quite frankly, that we were able to create versus now, Bella and Mondo are part of a totally digital, totally virtual experience. Thank goodness. I am so grateful all the time that we had a 2-day in-person retreat, which was really inspired by the previous cohorts to kind of like gel and get to know each other. But the virtual piece afterwards has been challenging. So I'm curious to hear from all of you, what are the other resources in the ecosystem? I have found that over the past 5 years, our ecosystem for startups, whether you're new to it or not, has really evolved and is so much more robust. And there's tons and tons of programs and networking groups and all kinds of other things that aren't just the same old white boy club that they used to be, quite frankly. So I'm curious, like, what other communities are you going to build and to network? Or what other programs have you participated in the ecosystem? And then how are you thinking about that in a virtual world? Or maybe is it less important to you because we are virtual? I think that's totally valid too. Mondo, I know you're shaking your head.
I mean, I'm just kind of just thinking it through because I think for me, the biggest value add over the last 5 months has been, I guess, how to take advantage of the human connection that we've been missing because there's so much screen time, right? And so I'm all about like, how do I refill my cup so I make sure that I can be my full self when I get back going. And so for me, it hasn't been about the entrepreneurial support system. It's been more about like who's taking care of Mondo or who's just helping me like get away from that, and me making sure or having somebody hold me accountable to say, make sure you get away. Go on a vacation for 4 days and not do nothing for real. And like and
Yeah.
how much that can like fill you up for then the next 3 or 4 months. And so I just think there's something to this new world of, this post-COVID world where like now since everything is digital or virtual, it's like so much time can be filled up, right? It's like Zoom after Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. Ain't no car ride where you're like, let me listen to music. It's
Yeah.
just it's nonstop. And so honestly, for me, it's really baking in the time to step away and doing it with fidelity.
And like less is more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's like been the theme, especially in the last couple of months. I found myself like in the first couple of months, like Mondo said, like it's opportunity after opportunity. And even within our ecosystem of startups, I think it's almost like there's like probably a month of time there where I was like, just everybody be quiet for a little bit here. Like it was just like email after email. And honestly, then everything becomes just not that important, right? And so I think for me, it was a good opportunity to evaluate like what's worth my time and what's not. I found myself like, if I'm going to be on a Zoom call and like engaging with someone, it's got to be really worth the time, right? Because it felt like an even bigger waste of time to be on a Zoom call, not getting things done than it was to like go meet someone in person and not get something done. And so it sounds really funny, but like it helped me weed out like what's not worth the time at all. The other thing is like, I think it also gave the opportunity because I was kind of bombarded by the ones I had heard from all the time. It gave me the chance to think outside of that. And because everything was virtual, like I put out some emails and like messages to people that, I don't know, 6 months ago, I would have been like, I don't know if that's going to like work. Right. But I threw out like 10 huge, hey, would you want to talk for 20 minutes? And they turned into like the most impactful 20-minute conversations that I've had with people that weren't connected to me through the ecosystem. But I just said, like, instead of spending my 1 hour on a call that may or may not be relevant to me, I'm going to spend 1 hour sending out these like meaningful personal messages. And that seemed to be more worth my time. So I think just using the opportunity to be like, what works and what doesn't for me right now where I'm at, knowing that 3 months from now I could be telling you like, no, I'm jumping on everything.
Yeah. Yep. For me, I feel like for as like an overachiever, I feel like I stuff my schedule. And so like Mondo, I think it's really important to like to schedule out time with humans. And so like just having time with Miles, my partner, my life partner, my business partner, and just doing things outside of the business, being with my family, like I cherish it so much more. And I feel like I'm more present. And then I do love the digital space because like Elizabeth said, like there's people that you can connect with that they would not connect with you if this wasn't a thing. So like I was on a buyer's meeting with the baking mix buyer from Target, and she gave me like 30 minutes of her time. And it's just so much opportunity, but also it's really important to like be mindful of not overextending yourself and to build those real life relationships too, and to nourish those. So
well, I want to like dig into that as like our final kind of like roundup question. Mondo, your business partner, once upon a time, Dario Otero said, your business can't be good if you're not good. And so taking care of you as the founder, whether that's financially, if it's emotionally, if it's like wellness at large, overall wellness of the founder really impacts the wellness of the company, even if there's a little lag time behind that, right? So as our kind of like wrap up, how are you all taking care of yourself? What does that look like now during COVID? What are you hoping post this experience that you get to carry forward that you have developed now during this time?
Got a really ridiculous example. It's not ridiculous, but comical just because of the timing. So this week I gave myself the first raise I've ever given myself since starting Creatively Focused. which I think is a version of like self-care, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the best part about it. So with the raise that I gave myself for my first paycheck, I basically told my husband, like, I'm taking my first paycheck of my new raise and I'm getting something for myself. Like, can't judge the price of it, can't judge what it is, like, can't, right? So I was like, so you know how like you like football, that's like a good hobby for you. You can like zone out Monday night, watch Monday Night Football. Like I don't have a I feel too busy for hobbies. So I love growing like gardening, only I'm really bad at it. So it's weird that I love it. But I mainly am really bad at it because I can't keep up, right? Like I forget to water it, like I just forget to tend to it, whatever. So I invested in some new technology. It's called a garden with a Y. And it is literally an indoor, like urban hydroponic garden that has an app with it that tells you like, I'm watering the plants for you. Like your kale is ready to harvest. It's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
But it will grow all, like our family has to eat all this food from all of our stuff. So from all of our allergies and stuff. So I'm like, we have our own garden that will be like inside with all the lights attached to it, being watered. And like last night I spent 2.5 hours like playing with it. And I was like, that's a hobby for me. And I completely disconnected from work. I completely disconnected from like all things around the world. And I was like, that's my self-care. So mine was like literally a week ago, I was like, I'm getting a hobby and this is my hobby.
Love that.
It's amazing. Put that thing, the link into the thing if you want.
I will right now.
That's exciting. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mondo, Bella, how are you doing some self-care right now?
So first I'll talk, like one of my biggest challenges is I think almost every technology company or people going into tech or having tech ideas all kind of fall into the same errors, right? And like building a tech product, there's some best practices that if you just share the knowledge, you're like, oh, you're going to skip 8 million potholes. And so I found myself in so many conversations because communities of color, like so many organizations, small businesses have to go digital. And so like the black tech guy. And so learning how to say no, but wanting to also add value and like, I have to give you this hour because if I don't, like you're gonna waste all this money that you just got. And so that's been like a huge challenge. And so to supplement that, I try to take off Fridays, like in my calendar is literally blocked off, but that hasn't worked for a while. But the thing that I typically do daily is literally like my day starts at 4:45. Coffee by myself that early, and then being able to go out for a run, and like nobody's up that early, and so that's essentially my time. Like I tried not to take any interviews meetings before 10 o'clock, and so that's like 5 hours to just do what I want to do. And so I guess that's my thing. But now that it's gotten cold, or it's starting to get cold, or it's cold one day and not the other day, whatever. I have to I have to see what the new routine is, because being able to get outside before the sun comes up and just do a jog or a walk and listen to a podcast has been like crazy for my mental health. But I'm not doing that in the snow. It's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. I'm really anxious about winter and working from home.
Yeah.
Bella, how about you?
Yeah, I'm like really trying to work on the 5 a.m. club thing. So good for you, Mondo. That's goals there. So for me, I talked to Amanda Heyman about this. I'm really bad with like rest. And so she actually had to coach me on this. Is this ringing or is it just me? Do you guys hear that? Maybe that's just me. Okay. But I was like, okay, for my week off or for my day off or for my weekend off, I'm gonna just create some videos for Coconut Whisk. And Amanda was like, no, that is not a break. Like you need to log off. So I learned that, like self-care for me is just logging off, like literally staying off my phone and doing something where I don't need to like be producing anything. So like honestly giving myself like doing a massage, like treating myself to a massage, or just taking a walk outside really helps me. So just anything that honestly like gets me off my phone and just present.
I love that. I have received the same coaching from Amanda Heyman. She's excellent.
She's great.
All right. So as we wrap up this session, how can people get in touch with you? How can they become your customer or your next champion? Elizabeth?
Yeah. head to www.creativelyfocused.net. We are no longer .org. We are .net. And check us out there, chat with our new little chat bot, and we'll get in touch with you soon. Otherwise, emailing me, elizabeth@creativelyfocused.net is always great. Yeah.
Thank you. Mondo?
Head over to schools.com. That's schools with a Z.com, and just sign up. Like, our goal is to literally build a bunch of content. So, families, even if you don't have a young one, I'm sure you might know somebody that has some young kids in the household, and we just want them to engage in some cool, culturally relevant content.
Go check out Destiny. She's the coolest.
I love Destiny. She is.
Love Destiny. That's awesome. Bella?
Yeah, you can find us at coconutwhisk.com, and then we're on Instagram at coconutwhisk. The fruit and then the utensil.
Love that. Awesome. Well, it is a treasure to get to spend time with each of you today. Thank you so much for giving it, for sharing your insight and experience with those that are watching today. I look forward to connecting at large. For those of you that are watching and you want to connect with Lunar Startups, check us out at www.lunarstartups.org. If you go to lunarstartups.org/apply, you can get first access to our application that will be dropping in November. You can learn more about what we're doing. Otherwise, I hope you will become a customer of all of these wonderful people, or spread the word about the good work that they're doing. Everyone have a great rest of your day. So good to see you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
And I look forward to chatting again soon. Get some rest.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.